Hi, Will. It's so lovely to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us. Will, you're the owner of Maneki Motion. Have I pronounced it correctly?
Yeah, no, you've got it right. It's a Japanese word. It actually means beckoning. It's do you know those cats you see in Japanese and Chinese restaurants that sort of sit like that? That's a maneki neko, or a beckoning cat, and they beckon good fortune. So I thought it was a sort of auspicious name for my company. And I used to live in Japan as well, so nice bit of a connection there.
When did you decide that you wanted to set up your own animation company?
I've been running my own business for about 15 years. It was a general sort of marketing company for quite a while. And then about 5 years ago, narrowed it right down into what I wanted to do, what I always wanted to do, which was animation.
And what kinds of animation do you do with Maneki Motion?
It's mainly commercial stuff, so a lot of explainer videos, promo videos, but some fun stuff as well. So, for example, the stuff we've done with you, we do a lot of work with charities and that sort of thing.
You said that so making the videos for the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust was one of the fun things that you get to do. How much did
Yeah.
you know about Shakespeare before you came to the videos?
Well, I was lucky enough. I don't live too far away from Stratford upon Avon, so I was lucky enough to go quite a lot when I was young and see a lot of the plays there. Obviously, school days, we all learn it, don't we? But I think as an adult, you just get a much more of a bigger appreciation for it. And yeah, no, I was sort of familiar, not massively familiar, put it that way.
Sure. And so when I turn up and say, Will, can you make us three videos? What were you thinking?
Well, I just thought it was an amazing opportunity because, as a director, you get to work with the greatest writer in the history of the world. It's a dream come true. So, you couldn't be any better than that. So it's just super exciting.
And I think actually that's a really good way of thinking about it. Like you're directing your own mini show, albeit in 3 minutes. But talk us through a little bit about the process then of coming up with an animation.
Yeah, so it's not a million miles away from doing a live action thing. So the first thing you've got to do is work out who your characters are. So obviously from the sort of initial drafts of the scripts that you guys sent over, I could work out who we had to portray on screen, and you've got to design them, what they're going to look like, and you've got to do the sets as well. So you've got to get the locations, design all the sets, and then finally you've got the props, the things that the characters are going to be holding and using. So you can design all that as well. From there, once you've delivered the script, which is absolutely fantastic. You guys really did the hard work there. We take those designs and those sets and those props and we turn it into a storyboard so we can see exactly what's going to happen all the way through the animation. Once that storyboard is finished, then we can take that and we turn it into a completed little 3-minute movie.
But you also composed the music for all of our videos too.
Yeah, in a past life, I was a musician. I say a past life. When I was a young man, like we all do, we have dreams of becoming rock stars, don't we? So being able to put some of those many hours of practice into use has been really, really good fun. And I do like to compose music for the videos as well. So, and it's the music and the sound effects where it really comes to life. You drop those in, and the animation, which hopefully look good, suddenly it turns into a sort of finished product in it, and it's a really exciting part of it. Yeah.
Romeo's friend Mercutio decides to attack Tybalt instead. As the young men struggle with each other, Mercutio is injured and killed by Tybalt.
It lends them so much more, I guess, dynamism and depth, doesn't it? When you've got the sound effects that are
totally.
juxtaposed with what's going on the screen.
Exactly. It's just another way to convey that story, get those emotions across, and really important part of it.
So which of the 3 videos that you did for us, you made Romeo and Juliet, King Lear and The Winter's Tale, which of the 3 did you enjoy making the most?
And that's a great question. I really enjoyed King Lear just because it's such a crazy story. It's so much happens in that one, and it wasn't one that I was massively familiar with. Romeo and Juliet, we all know, so that's a challenge as well because it's been done so many times. Coming up with a new way to show it was really good fun. The Winter's Tale, again, not one I was familiar with, and that's a really it's kind of a dark story, isn't it? That one, but no, really, really good fun as well. But I think King Lear was my favourite.
We worked with 3 brilliant voiceover artists for all of the videos. But from your perspective, retelling those stories, was there anything that was like a massive challenge for you when you were telling them?
Well, like I said before, you guys did the hard work by putting those fantastic scripts together. So once I got those, it was all nice and easy, and the ideas start to flow. It's all about the transition, obviously, with 3 minutes, transitioning between the scenes nice and quickly, keeping that story rolling to get it all in, but in a sort of nicely timed, nice flow fashion. It's actually, that's the fun bit when you're coming up with those, how are we going to make this work and all slot together nicely. So no, it was a challenge, but it was a really, really good fun one.
Oh, and that's really good to hear, because I was just thinking about how we had lots of conversations, didn't we, about how we convey tastefully some of the gorier or kind of less pleasant aspects of some of those plays, and the thing that comes to mind is the pulling out of Gloucester's eyes in King Lear.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty extreme.
I mean, it's really extreme, but you had this wonderful suggestion of turning the screen red, which I love. I think it works so beautifully, and then just having the text appear instead.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways we could have done that, isn't there? The gorier, the better for me. But,
There are so many wonderful little details across all 3 of those videos that I couldn't list all of them because there's just so many. But the one that comes to mind is Camillo and Polixenes disguised at Perdita's sheep shearing festival, and it was your idea to have them disguised as sheep.
It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? At a sheep shearing festival, what would be a better disguise than a sheep?
But
as long as you didn't get shorn.
I mean, happily they escaped that fate.
Outraged, Polixenes reveals himself, denounces Florizel, and threatens the shepherd and his son for allowing Perdita to befriend.
I mean, obviously, nowadays we want to be really inclusive with what we're doing, and that's a big part of it. So, I mean, we had some very, very detailed conversations about character design, set design, that sort of things, didn't we? And that's something that's so important, and we try and work into everything that we do. So yeah, that's a big consideration.
Yeah, I think the big thing about a lot of this project was just how much conversation there needed to be about not just the Shakespeare, actually. The Shakespeare was almost the starting point, really. It's, like you say, the other things around, yes, character design, but also having that eye on inclusivity and making sure that different voices are represented as well, because we had different tones across the videos, right? So
definitely, yeah.
Romeo and Juliet is narrated by a very young woman, and we changed the tone of the script to reflect that, to make it seem a little more hip, if you like. Although that probably immediately makes it sound less hip.
He's so hip.
So hip. But yeah, so I guess thinking about tone as well was a big one. How about animation style itself, Will? Because obviously this is your bag, and there's a very specific style that coheres across all 3 of these videos.
Yeah, I mean, really with the style, obviously it's a 3-minute video, so you've got to get a heck of a lot of stuff across in a really, really short time. So the character design has to be really open and accessible. It has to be able to show all the emotions, get that story across. So simplicity is the key, and then the designs have to obviously we have to be able to create a lot of different characters using designs that all fit together, that all kind of look the same. So there's a sort of visual style that's carried on throughout all the videos, so the viewer knows exactly what they're watching when they tune into a new video. So yeah, that's where the starting point came from, and I think we went through a few iterations before we found one that we all liked, and that's sort of developed naturally.
I remember having a conversation of the many that we've had about the different eyes. We talked about the way that you animate eyes and create kind of characters through the way that they're blinking or kind of moving their eyebrows even, and that seemed quite, I mean, you did sort of, you worked what I'm going to call miracles with those characters' eyes.
So kind. Yeah, I mean, there's a visual language that we all understand, obviously, as humans, and it's the eyebrows, the eyes, and the mouth, really, isn't it? And So, if you've got those elements in there, you're going to be able to get across all the emotions that you need to portray.
Yeah, and I think there's you could almost tell those stories just from the characters' reactions in
Yeah.
their eyes and things. I thought that was just very, very clever. And I know that we sort of thrust upon you this impetus to have text, so bits of Shakespeare's language floating around the screen and across the 3 videos. I mean, how was that from your perspective? Was that something that you felt you had to, sort of shoehorn in, or was it a little bit more organic?
No, not at all. I thought it worked really well just to sort of punctuate the various pieces. I mean, there are obviously famous lines, famous passages from these plays, to get them in and find out where they come from. I think it's really interesting. It was interesting for me to know exactly where these things that you've known for such a long time, you don't actually know, where do they come from? And then you go, it comes from there. And that's the point in the play where it says it. So, no, I really enjoyed putting those in, and I think they add a lot to the videos.
I think they add a lot too, definitely. Yeah. Is there a play that you'd like to animate next? Because, I mean, if we said, okay, Will, we're doing 3 more, what would be the next one that you'd want to do?
The Scottish play. I'd love to do the Scottish play.
Brilliant. Yeah. That's a really, really good choice. And I'm thinking... there are so many, aren't there? It's like at least another 33 that need animating.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get round to doing those, Will, because it's been an absolute pleasure working with you. I've learned so much as well throughout this process. It's been a tremendous pleasure and also a lot of fun.
I mean, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's such an amazing gift to be able to work with these plays. So thank you so much. It's been a massive, massive pleasure and a huge honor to work with you guys.